Tim had walked this same trail for years, so when something felt off, he noticed it instantly. He was a park ranger who knew every sound, every rhythm, every small detail of this place. The animals, the trees, even the silence had patterns. And that morning, one of those patterns was broken. The nest, a massive bird nest he'd been passing almost daily for years, was completely silent. No chirping, no movement, just stillness. That alone was enough to make his chest tighten, because in all his time working there, that had never happened before. Even on quiet days, there was always something, but not this time. He stopped and stared at it longer than usual, replaying memories of watching it grow bit by bit over the years. He'd seen birds adding twigs, repairing edges, defending it from storms. It wasn't just a nest, it was a constant. And now, it felt abandoned. Tim moved closer, careful not to make noise, expecting birds to burst out at any second. Nothing did. The tree looked normal. The nest looked intact from below. No obvious damage. No feathers on the ground. He told himself there had to be a simple explanation. Maybe the birds were nearby. Maybe it was temporary. Still, the feeling wouldn't leave him. As he walked away, he already knew he'd be back the next morning. That night, the silence followed him home. By sunrise, he was already heading straight for the tree, earlier than usual, hoping he'd been wrong. But as soon as he arrived, his gut dropped. Something was different. Near the base of the tree, the ground looked disturbed. The marks didn't match anything he recognized. Not deer, not fox, not anything that belonged here. For a moment, his mind went to predators, but the lack of feathers told a different story. Whatever happened, it wasn't a normal attack. The nest was too high to see into, and that made the uncertainty worse. He knew he couldn't ignore it anymore. He rushed back for a ladder and tools, skipping his usual routine. When he returned, he climbed quickly, barely noticing how unstable the ladder felt beneath him. Normally, the sound alone would have sent birds flying. This time, there wasn't even a flutter. As he reached the level of the nest, he froze. Right through the center was a large hole. Clean, deliberate. Something birds could never have done themselves. And through that opening, he could finally see inside. The birds were gone. But what replaced them made his heart pound. Something was sitting in that nest that had no business being there. Tim climbed down fast, hands shaking as he reached for his phone. When he called the police, he explained what he'd seen, trying to keep his voice steady. But the response caught him off guard. They didn't sound alarmed. They brushed it off, suggesting it was probably just an animal or some strange coincidence. Not a police matter, they said. Keep an eye on it. Don't worry too much. When the call ended, Tim stood there staring up at the nest, feeling a mix of anger and dread. He knew they were wrong, and if no one else was going to take this seriously, he would. From that moment on, Tim stopped thinking like just a ranger. He started investigating. He searched the ground inch by inch, photographing marks, noting patterns, collecting anything that didn't belong. He spoke to other rangers, then to visitors. Most noticed nothing, but a few mentioned strange noises at night, odd shadows, lights flickering deep in the park after hours. Details most people would forget. Tim didn't. Back in his office, he spread everything out, trying to make sense of it all. That's when he noticed something he'd missed before. Scratches near the base of the tree. Too precise, too evenly spaced. These weren't random. These were human. Once he saw that, everything shifted. Footprints appeared where he hadn't noticed them before. Marks on tree bark that looked like tools had been used. The nest wasn't just abandoned. It had been used, and whoever did it knew exactly what they were doing. As Tim documented everything, a chilling realization set in. The odd things he'd dismissed months earlier suddenly mattered. The late-night lights, the unexplained sounds, it was all connected. Then came the warning. When Tim returned to his office one evening, a note was pinned to his door. Short, direct, telling him to stop looking where he shouldn't. The message sent a chill through him. But it also confirmed something important. He was close. Instead of backing off, he pushed further, following a narrow path he'd always ignored. Hidden behind thick brush, it led to a clearing completely invisible from main trails. What he found there made his stomach drop. Tools, cages empty but recently used. This wasn't random vandalism. This was organized. This time, when Tim contacted authorities, he didn't explain everything. He hinted just enough. And that changed everything. When police finally saw the evidence, their tone shifted fast. They listened. They asked questions. And soon, they were working together. During a coordinated operation, they returned to the nest. Inside, hidden carefully, was the truth. Rare animal eggs. Not from local wildlife. Not legal. The nest had been turned into a hiding place for a wildlife smuggling operation, operating right under everyone's noses. As investigators dug deeper, the scope widened. The eggs were linked to a larger network, trafficking endangered species. The park had been used as a silent drop point for years, but thanks to Tim's persistence, the operation collapsed. The smugglers were caught in the act, arrested, exposed. What started as an uneasy silence became the key to shutting down something far bigger than anyone imagined. When the case went to court, the full damage was revealed, the harm done, the risks taken, the lives disrupted, all for profit. The sentencing sent a clear message. This wouldn't be ignored. For Tim, it was never about recognition. It was about trusting his instincts when something felt wrong. Because sometimes, the quietest signs are the most important ones.